Yesterday, December 15th, Trump signed an executive order declaring that fentanyl was a weapon of mass destruction.
hmm
Might be some other questionable reasons for coming after Venezuela, if not for fentanyl.
Well, definitely the oil. Um,
Similar to the
it like
Epstein
I was about to
files.
say, it reminds me of the Epstein files. Like
The
Trump
fentanyl.
loves to just pull numbers out his ass. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Washed Up. I'm Abby, and this is Colin reporting to you from DC. This is episode 34 of Washed Up, so that you don't have to listen to the legacy media that your grandparents listen to.
And this is probably going to be our last episode before the end of 2025, and we will take some time at some point to go back on what this year has meant to us just here at Washed Up because it's been a huge, monumental year. We started in 2025 and we're keeping the momentum going into next year with some exciting stuff. But for today, we're going to be talking about Venezuela and how things are kind of heating up between the US and Venezuela.
And the Trump admin and Trump in general has been talking about Venezuela a lot, but in the past, in the past few months, in the past weeks, it's definitely been more in the headlines. And Colin and I have been talking about like when we were going to report on it because we didn't want to, but here we are.
Yeah, we've been sitting on this one for a while because the early reports of increased military activity with the U.S. sending different vessels and troops toward Venezuela, that started in like I want to say early November. So it's been the talk of the town, you could say, for a good at least 2 months, probably more than that. And there's been other like various incidents along the way that we're going to get to. But how does it seem right now? Where do you think the tension is kind of settling, or is it settling?
No. Well, a lot of people have been talking about it on like both sides of things. Obviously around the big topic of fentanyl and drugs, which is like what the US is claiming to be going after Venezuela for that like major issue. So I think that, I mean, like we've been talking about fentanyl for the longest time. I feel like
Hmm.
since our junior year of college, which was like 3 years ago, and that conversation hasn't slowed down at all.
Right. Each of us actually wrote our own news stories about the fentanyl crisis in San Diego County
I
back
remember
in
that.
college. And so it is the fentanyl crisis is a real thing that's
Yeah.
happening in the US, but as I recall, when we were covering it from San Diego, it was mostly concerning the fentanyl that was coming across like the US Mexico border. And back then, a lot of it was coming from they were sending the like component drugs to Mexico from China. And that was how it was getting across. Was it was being smuggled, sometimes by Americans, sometimes by the cartel in coordination um, into San Diego. And so we would write about that because it was having a disparate impact on that community that we were in, and we are trying to warn people, like, hey, just so you know, this is a really pervasive issue. So that's how I'm familiar with
Me
that
too.
issue.
Because even at the time, like you said, it had to do with our community and the San Diego community, and especially as college students who, um, with a lot of peers who may or may not be like partaking in illegal activities with drugs or whatever. That was a warning that our public safety at the time had also said they were like offering free Narcan and doing lessons on it. And I think I interviewed one of the public safety officers about like how to use it.
Hmm. And so now saying that fentanyl is coming from Venezuela is really interesting because that's not historically like where the fentanyl has been coming from. And so Trump is saying that that's sort of the pretense upon which they are amping up their activity directed at Venezuela is to stop the importation of fentanyl. But again, it's kind of questionable where's it actually coming from. And so yesterday, December 15th, Trump signed an executive order declaring that fentanyl was a weapon of mass
hmm
destruction.
hmm
And so what did you think about that?
I definitely think fentanyl kills and or not think like no based off of statistics that fentanyl kills like a lot of people, harms a lot, affects a lot of communities. I wouldn't necessarily say that it would categorize under a weapon of mass destruction per se, um, uh, because of I guess like the choices that people are making in in taking drugs or in using fentanyl, not always knowingly, or people who are, implementing that into their communities or into whoever, like addicts basically, which I don't think is under the same category, which doesn't mean that I don't think fentanyl is a huge crisis slash problem.
Right. I mean, the numbers that I've heard, it kills about 80,000 Americans a year, which is horrendous, and that definitely is a problem, and it affects different communities differently and to higher degrees, and that's all stuff that we should be actually actively addressing. There's people who will disagree about what's the best solution for the fentanyl crisis, and to me, what makes the most sense is amping up funding for instance, like research into substance abuse disorder, different treatments, different options for addicts, how to get them through
Right.
their addiction. Um, I would not put attacking Venezuela at the top of my list of solutions.
Got to agree with you.
But part of the irony too is Trump and the new administration from this year cut a ton of funding for federal research into, I mean, for instance, like other ways of treating substance abuse disorder. And so there's some irony in they're not really in some ways they don't seem that interested in actually resolving the problem. It does seem like it's more about saber rattling toward Venezuela and perhaps for some questionable reasons. So why do you think, what might be some of the questionable reasons for coming after Venezuela, if not for fentanyl?
Well, definitely the oil. Um, I I also, like a lot of people, think that Trump is not going after Venezuela because of the fentanyl thing. Like he has been talking about fentanyl, but it hasn't always been, quote, like Venezuela's issue under Trump, if that makes sense. Like we were just saying, like he was calling out Mexico a lot in the beginning, and I mean that was somewhat accurate in that in what we were looking up when we were writing those articles at the time too. Um,
He had even gone as far as to suggest that they would carry out targeted strikes against the cartel in Mexico for fentanyl. So he's at least consistent on that point.
yeah.
But there's some other things he's not so consistent about.
Yeah, and like I said, like Trump's been targeting Venezuela. I've always thought it was for ulterior motives, such as the oil and wanting to take over because of the natural resources they can gain from it. I mean, other things that he's attacked Venezuela for, um, immigration, he's talked about in Venezuela before, and other
Yeah,
issues.
the immigration point for sure. As you know, like a lot of the people who have been deported from the US in Trump's second term have been what he's been calling gang members from Tren de Aragua, which is, I think, located in Venezuela primarily. And so a large part of his push to get the deportations up has been um, labeling people as like a threat for their gang affiliations so that he can justify kicking them out. He's also used the Alien Enemies Act, which requires that there be an invasion going on. And so, interestingly, that's been working its way up through the court, and the court has found, well, actually, what Venezuela and the cartels are doing doesn't qualify as an invasion because they're
Yeah.
not in a state of declared war with them, so you can't just deport them using that act. So, part of my theory is maybe he's getting us into a war with them so that he can get his way on the deportation of Venezuelans.
Interesting. I wouldn't put it past him. Um,
I mean, we've seen him do that in other cases where he
right.
kind of like creates a problem so that he can
He can
fix
be the
another
solver,
problem
and
or he
then
can solve it.
he
Yeah.
can say, "Thank God I'm here, guys." That we almost got into, or we were in a war with Venezuela, and now we're out of it.
Yeah. Or like we were in a war with Iran, but now it's over. 12 days war. It's all wrapped up with a nice little bow. Never have to think about that again. And everyone else is like, oh my
Oh, dude,
God.
wasn't that all you?
Yeah, I think he's been saying like he's ended 8 wars during his presidency, and I'm not really sure
What are
which.
the eight wars?
I couldn't tell you. That's the
Trump
thing.
loves to just pull numbers out his ass.
I mean, maybe he's talking about like India, Pakistan, Cambodia, Thailand, Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Gaza. I mean, there's a lot of wars going on, but by my count, a lot of them are still going on, including the ones I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Again, Trump's hypocrisy around this is very obvious. Also, did you hear that he pardoned the former president of Honduras, who was in the US detained on drug charges?
That is very ironic.
Yeah, I think his name was Juan Orlando Hernandez when he got pardoned by Trump. Like in the
What was
past.
the reasoning for his pardoning?
That's a great that's a great question. But
Is there none?
I mean, I did see a statement from Carolyn Levitt that was basically saying like it was a targeted prosecution, and so Trump thought it was like fair to pardon him because he was in for like 45 years for the alleged crime of smuggling drugs. But in the context of, again, what's happening with Venezuela now and using drug smuggling as a pretense to start a war, it seems a
Start
bit ironic.
start a war over the not even that's not, when that's not even the real reason why the war would be started.
I mean, so yeah, he pardoned Hernandez and he pardoned also Ross Ulbricht
Hmm.
earlier this year, who was also in jail for a life sentence for the Silk Road and the black market that he was running. So things just aren't adding up, you guys.
Comment your opinion. Comment your opinions on Trump's patterns right now, Trump's behavior. I mean, we talked about it a bit off camera and like we've been talking about Trump and his behavior for a while and like not much is very shocking or even unstrategic to me at most parts. Like I think it's wrong a lot of the time what he's doing, but I do see where what he's trying to do in his motives.
I mean, a lot of people have tried to kind of read his foreign policy and have had a really hard time nailing down like what is the
He's a
underlying.
non-interventionist.
I mean, he said no new wars on the campaign trail, but we've already seen how that hasn't
There's at least been
panned
8.
out. Yeah, according to him, there's a um. So my understanding of his foreign policy, though, is that he is interested in ending wars so that he can say that he ended a war because he wants it to reflect well on him, and that's sort of his metric by which he does a lot of his decisions.
Hmm.
So he doesn't mind starting a war if it means he can end it too. But he's
But
not.
if you start a war, does that even count as ending it? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Can you be credited with ending a war if you started it? Truly.
These are great questions. The Nobel Peace
It's like
Prize
net
committee will
zero.
have to weigh in on that. Yeah, and interestingly, actually, the person who won the Nobel Prize for Peace this year was um, the opposition leader of Venezuela, Maria Corina Machado,
Hmm.
who, Trump had wanted that Peace Prize.
Oh, he wanted it so badly.
I don't know if he was in the running for it, but she actually ended up winning it instead. And
That's even more ironic.
I know, I'm wondering, like, how does that factor into all of his metrics here with her being
Now,
Venezuelan running against Maduro, who he's trying to, supplant.
yeah, that's just more of a motivation for him to go after Venezuela. He's like, give me that peace
He's like, it
prize.
worked for her. She stuffed in Maduro and got it. Maybe if I do, I'll get it.
Oh
Oh
my
God.
God. A lot more Venezuelans want the US to intervene than Americans do. So who
Hmm.
knows?
Like you think like people living in Venezuela or expats from Venezuela?
People living in Venezuela.
Like you think they're sick of Maduro and his regime, so they're like they would
Yes,
welcome it?
is what I'm thinking.
Um, maybe. Um, I could also see them being really angry because the US has done a lot of like regime change in
Right.
Latin America and in Iran in the past and other places in the world. So I'm thinking like even though they might not like Maduro, I'm curious if they would.
Like, do they dislike him so much that they are okay with the US intervening?
That's an interesting question. I'm not sure. I mean, hopefully we won't have to find out.
Oh yeah, no. I don't think that we're gonna, oh my gosh, like famous last words. I'm like, I don't think we're going to war. Um, and if we do, Trump's gonna end it. So,
So another thing that happened in relationship to all this, the Pentagon released its like grand strategy, which is
hmm.
basically just like its outline of how it's running and making foreign policy decisions. Um, and it's like not, it's written by people in the Defense Department or War Department, my bad, who, are just trying to like create an outline for our general plan, basically.
Hmm.
And as part of this newly released plan, they mention the Monroe Doctrine and how we want to like bring it back. So, what do you think about that? Do you have any background or familiarity with the Monroe Doctrine, and do you think it fits the current moment we're in?
I can't say that the Monroe document fits the current moment that we're in. What I don't have a background in it, but I did do some research about it before coming to record. I feel like the Trump admin's just trying to use it as a way to help their actions go through.
Hmm. I mean, they'll definitely dig up like stuff from way in the past in
Like it's from so like
18 early 1800s.
when's the last time that was used? Like during
So there was the original Monroe Doctrine where James Monroe was like, we anyone who wants to come and influence the Western Hemisphere has to come through us first, is basically the idea. And then there was the Roosevelt corollary to the Monroe Doctrine, which is like, and we're gonna back it up with military force and like defend the Western Hemisphere of any invaders or threats.
Mhm.
And Roosevelt, Theodore was really big on like speak softly, carry a big stick type thing, and using military like threat of attack to sway foreign policy. And then so now we have the Trump corollary to the Monroe Doctrine, which to me is like similar to the Roosevelt corollary, but it's just like plus whatever Donald Trump thinks that we should do in the moment.
It and that is the exact reason why I don't like it's like what do you mean by that? Like in this moment, I can't say that I thought that the Monroe document Trump's version is the correct answer.
Yeah. Well, so he's now. We should probably get into the actual attacks on the boats that have been happening.
Right.
What have you seen about those?
Well, the most prevalent one I think that a lot of people were talking about was the one where they struck twice. What was that on just September?
Yeah,
September
September 2nd.
2nd? That's the one that I think most people were talking about, mostly because um, the second strike was because there were still two people alive, and the second strike is what killed those two people.
Hmm. And I guess in like the military code of conduct, it's very much outlined like you can't when people are not able to continue like an attack, you can't go back and like finish the job kind of thing. It's known as like a double tap, and in this instance, it seems like the people were incapacitated because their boat had been sunk and all of the other people were dead.
Right.
And it's like, how are they going to continue their alleged assault on the US or smuggling of fentanyl at that point in time?
If they're like barely hanging on.
And so this all blew up because people were calling this out, saying like, did you get the proper authorization to go back and kill those two? And so where did you see it go from there?
I've been seeing people place a lot of blame online, particularly debates about whose blame it is. Um, Hegseth, for example, somebody that people are blaming Trump, obviously. Um, and then
Admiral
Admiral,
Bradley.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
those.
can't say that I personally don't think that you can blame one person. I think it's all their faults. Like, I'm sure, surely there's like, like one person can't make that call, you know?
Well, so it first kind of broke in the Washington Post, and
Hmm.
they were specifically trying to tie it to an order by Hegseth to kill them all, quote unquote. And so that seemed to implicate Hegseth as the one who made the call. But then there was further reporting that kind of muddled it a little bit more, where it was not clear, did he directly order them? Like he saw that there was two that survived, and then he said, yes, go back and kill them also? Or did he just have a blanket, like everyone on that boat must die, and then Admiral Bradley was the one who made the call, like in order to fulfill that order, we must go back and
And
hit
kill
them
them and hit
again.
them the second time.
So that's kind of the discourse that there's been around it, in addition to people saying, well, surely they consulted with, like, they have, like, they call them JAGs. I don't even know what that abbreviation necessarily stands for, but they're like military lawyers who are familiar with the rules of war and engagement and whatnot. And they consult with them before making, or they should consult with them before making certain, like, high level decisions like
Right.
that. Um, and that was also raised in the conversation about this double tap. Like, did they get the authorization or did they not? And
And
so Congress called in Bradley to testify.
it was classified, right?
Mhm.
The
Yeah, so it was confidential, and we had listened to a clip before this
Mhm.
where Jim Hines of Connecticut, who's a Democrat, had said like he watched a video. This was actually a video of the people clinging onto the boat after it's
Right.
been destroyed.
Yeah, Jake, and I hope it will be shown to the public because it's going to be really important for the American people to know what is being done in their name. And, it's pretty easy to get excited about, efforts to take out drug dealers, but the video was enormously, enormously disturbing. And I can't describe it in detail, but to tell you that the initial strike, as you might imagine, when a piece of munitions falls on a small boat, did an immense amount of damage, caused a huge amount of fire, and ultimately the end result was two individuals without any weaponry, without any tools of any kind, clinging to a wrecked boat, really what looked like flotsam. And we observed them for a long time, and the commanders involved said that they believed that there might be some chance they would be rescued, that there might be some chance that the cocaine on board could be recovered. But these two individuals, to anyone looking at this thing, would say are moments away from slipping under the waves. The decision was taken to kill them, and that is in fact what happened.
Yeah, he basically was just indicating like these people were
Like they were
incapacitated.
not able to attack or like do anything besides hang on for their lives or whatever.
Mhm. So he was strongly indicating in his view of having seen the video of it that they should not have gone back and hit them a second time. But, like there's an argument to be made on perhaps both sides of it, and it probably goes into some legal territory that like we can't exactly speak to. But so now that we know that there is a video of it,
I'm wondering if that video will get released.
yeah.
Not that I don't know if I'd want to watch that, but
So they asked Trump in a press conference, like, are you planning to release the video of that?
Will you release video of that strike so that the American people can see for themselves what
I don't
happened?
know what they have, but whatever they have, we'd certainly release, no problem. We stopped every boat we knock out, we save 25,000 American lives.
That's right.
And
Thank you.
if you look
Thank
at
you.
our, if
Thank
you look
you.
at our numbers, the drugs coming in through sea are down 91%.
And he kind of passed it over to Hegseth, I've also heard.
and he said that Hegseth gets to decide whether or not it gets released.
Yeah, and so that can be interpreted a lot of different ways.
It feels like they're playing volleyball with like whose fault it is. Like they're like passing the ball to each other. Um, because like on its face, like it doesn't seem like a crazy thing to be like, oh yeah, it's on you, like because that's like your job. But now if Hegseth makes the call not to release it, it's almost like people will be like, why are you not releasing it?
Mhm. Similar to the
It like I
Epstein
was about to
files.
say, it reminds me of the Epstein files, like
Hmm. Maybe Trump learned a thing or two from the Epstein files, and he's like, let me do the same thing to Hegseth.
he's like, if I have to go through it, you do too.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing. Like once you're in that high level of politics, I feel like it often does come down to that of like who's gonna take the fall for it. I mean, we saw that with like Signalgate, for instance,
Right.
and I've heard that they've independently done their investigation, I think. And apparently they found that Hegseth was accountable for Signalgate and the fact that they were like using that communication platform. So
Anyways,
make of that what you will. But as far as Venezuela, yeah, so that was the worst incident that got
right.
the most kind of coverage because of the double tap story behind it, because of the who's at fault questions it raised and haven't been answered yet.
But there's been more strikes since. There was one 2 days ago, yesterday.
Yeah, I think on Monday.
Mm-hmm. And
So,
today's Tuesday, December 16th.
so it's very much ongoing, and the total people who have died from these different strikes I've heard is now over 90, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, like that's significant. And if this is all happening under pretense and not actual, um, I guess, like legal reasons, then this is a huge outrage and a scandal. And, a lot of people who are less hawkish are very um, vocal, calling out the administration and all that it's doing. And they also attacked a carrier the other week. Did you see that?
They did?
Yeah, so there was a Venezuelan aircraft carrier that the U.S. like there's this
Wait, where
interdicted.
was it?
It was like on its way. I think it was. I heard it was on its way to Cuba,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like intercepted by U.S. forces during that voyage. And I'm not sure what they did with the people on board or what they found on board, but that was a big headline last week.
So I guess we'll continue to see what continues to happen with Venezuela if the Trump admin, if Hegseth keeps ordering strikes, if or what's gonna happen with that video too.
And actually, I also saw them ask a reporter asked Trump what he was thinking with Maduro and the regime and overthrow and all this, like asking him, "Are you trying to overthrow the?"
On Venezuela in particular, are Maduro's days as president numbered?
I would say, yeah, I think so, yeah.
Which I don't know. I don't think that's a very strong threat because technically all of our days are numbered. It's not very specific. Like he could give a specific timeline if he does have something in mind. So yeah, but he's been like, leading on the press in a way of like, I might do it. I might do it.
He's so good at that.
That's what he lives for,
He
though.
loves the chase.
I mean, by this rate, he'll probably have Maduro in the Oval Office like next week. Like they'll be like besties taking a photo together.
True.
I mean, he's had leaders from like, I don't know, Syria, Qatar, definitely. He's had a lot of,
He has a lot of fast enemies to lovers tracks and
I mean, also Saudi. He'll bring in anyone. You remember when he met with Kim Jong-un in his first term? Oh man.
Oh God.
So yeah,
Those are the good old days.
even though he'll carry a lot of like bombast into press briefings, I honestly would not be shocked.
It's just theatrics.
Mhm.
I feel we've done an episode on theatrics or on Trump and like his behavioral theatrics he likes to do. So
The Roosevelt corollary and Roosevelt's approach being speak softly, carry a big stick. I feel like Trump is speak loudly and never follow through. At least in foreign policy. Other stuff, he'll like
which one are you
plan his
guys?
policy.
Tag yourself.
Yeah.
Comment who you relate to more.
No, okay, maybe I should qualify that. He definitely followed through with Iran, but again, it opened up more questions than it answered, and that's my eternal frustration with his choices is I like when there's a sense of resolution, and I don't think that's what he's really after. And if he was after resolution, there wouldn't be so many internal inconsistencies with his decisions that he makes. And also, I think he would be looking at root causes of like the fentanyl demand in the US and why people here are turning to it in such high numbers.
Yeah, I think Trump just wants to pick his issue and pin fentanyl on that. He wants to choose he chose it's like he chose Venezuela and was like, now I will find reason to get there. To I now will find reason to attack, and it will be drugs.
As we mentioned before, same thing with the tariffs. The IEPA tariffs, which he also was based off of the fentanyl coming across the Mexico border and the Canada border, according to him, and that was his reason for
Hmm.
levying tariffs. So maybe he should think of something else. Like this is
He
getting a
needs a new
little
strategy.
original.
And that's something he does not want to be, for sure.
That might wrap up our last episode, unless you have other things you want to talk about in the or maybe the washed up world we can share.
The washed up world is we have an announcement. We are planning to do a live stream um as like a year anniversary of Washed Up. It'll probably be in early January, maybe whatever the first episode slash launch of Washed Up season 2 is next year will be our um live stream moment, which I'm kind of scared for.
Yeah, I mean, live stream is definitely different. I feel like we've done pretty good, and by episode 34 now, like we're kind of good, just going and speaking extemporaneously, and like whatever comes out is usually good.
And there's also that failsafe of like, oh, well, we could edit it
Mm.
if needed. We could do this if needed, or
We've
we'll
been
like fact check after.
we've been known to cut a segment every once and again, and the audience would never know it.
Sometimes we get on a tangent and we're like, wait, that was like
Us?
so
No,
unnecessary.
never. We could talk about things that we've learned from the past year, because certainly I think broadcast and doing a podcast is completely different than what we started doing,
And
but
apparently we're gonna be featured at at our schools our school's alumni spotlight. So thanks to our advisor.
yeah, that was really cool to
That's
hear.
another that's another washed up news, I guess.
Actually, we just passed, so our anniversary of starting filming is coming up in January, but we actually just passed our anniversary of coming up with the idea for Washed Up.
I was
Um,
in Vegas still.
yeah, so it's really cool. Like we've come a long way and made a lot of content, and like
34 episodes.
the more you do it, I feel like you get a better sense of like what's gonna land. So we'll be doing it live, as Bill O'Reilly said.
We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Sometime in January. Watch out for the announcement on that, and it'll be a fun time. Loosely, I'm calling it the Washed Up First Anniversary 2025 Retrospect Extravaganza.
Wow, that's a good one. That's a good one. Okay. Um,
So everyone, hope you have a great Christmas out there. And all I want for Christmas is world peace and no war with Venezuela.
I'll second that. And for washed up success. Anyways, okay.
Washed
Washed up
up out.
out.